Good morning, all the participants. On behalf of Vishwakarma Institute of Information Technology Alumni Association and on the behalf of Huawei, I am welcoming you all for today's session. The session will be on preparing for HR round in an interview. Now, today's speaker is Mr. Siddesh Batewara. He is a alumni of VIIT Computer Department. Currently, he is a general manager HR at Siddharth Auto Engineers Private Limited. He is having 12 years of rich experience in the field of sales, admin, and HR. He is developing and promoting effective HR strategies and re-engineer processes to ensure maximum efficiency. So again, I welcome Mr. Siddharth and I request to Siddharth, please start the session.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Subhash, for giving this introduction, a small one. And it's really a good opportunity for me to present myself to such a large audience here today. So as Subhash already said that, the session would be on an HR round during placements. Like we have an interview, we have the technical rounds initially for the computer IT students, and then we have the final round, which is the HR round, which most of the students find it very difficult to crack, and they find it really hard to, they don't know what to answer in this HR round. So I have been preparing students for the last few years to crack this HR round and get through the final round of the interview. So what I'm going to do is I have a small presentation wherein I have a small number of questions that most of the HR interviewers ask to students during these interviews. So let us go through this small presentation. We have Professor Vikas Kolekar, who's going to help me answer all the questions that you students ask. So what we'll do is we'll have the question answer session at the end of the presentation, and all the students can have their queries asked once the presentation is over, so that we do not disturb the flow of the presentation. So let us start. As I said, my presentation is HR round during placements. So what I'm going to do is a few points that we need to remember during this round, that everyone is nervous on interviews. Like students, even the interviewer is also nervous. So if you simply allow yourself to feel nervous, you will do much better. You don't try to show people that you're not nervous. What you tend to do is you have a different body language, you have a different way of talking when you're nervous. So remember that it is normal. It is very normal to be nervous. So all of you should, let it be, not try to hide that nervousness. Then be positive. Whenever you give this interview, whenever you are into an HR round of interview, be very positive. Never be negative. Never give negative answers to the interviewer. As before any presentation or before any interview, we have to prepare. We have to go and prepare. So we have to rehearse these answers and questions before we talk or before we go for this interview. Then before we go for this interview, we need to find out what the people want and then show them how you can give it to them. For example, if a company in the job description or in the initial company presentation, they tell you that they want this into the candidate. So you need to study that, and you need to tell the interviewer that how you can give it to them. You need to find out what the employer wants in his or her ideal candidate and show them how you meet these qualifications. You need to find your strengths, you need to find your weaknesses and show it in such a way that the interviewer comes to know that this is the ideal candidate that I require. Before you know what to emphasize in your answers, you must find out what he wants to buy from you. So what you need to do is, I think you are second year or third year students. So what you should do is in your everyday life, in your everyday day-to-day life, you need to be more optimistic. You need to practice to be optimistic, because a lot of people have an attitude of being negative. So what they need to work on is how to be optimistic, how to be positive. So you need to be rehearsing this every day. And then you have to keep an interview diary. So it's not that you're going to go to the first interview and get selected. You're going to give 5 interviews or 6 interviews or 7 interviews. So after every interview, what you need to do is write down what were the good points and what were the bad points. If you're not cracking the interview, you need to study on what went wrong or why you were not selected, and then study this before you go to the next interview. And the last and the most important point is that you have to be honest. You have to be uh, clear cut on your points. You should never lie in an interview, because if the interviewer catches you lying, then it is a big no-no. So always remember, whenever you are giving an interview, be honest and never lie. Now what we'll do is we'll go through a few questions which a general HR interviewer asks in every interview. What is the reason behind asking these questions? The main reason behind asking these questions is that these questions are a trap. Basically, the HR person knows that you have crossed all the technical interviews. He knows that you are technically fit, but he needs to understand your mentality. He needs to understand your attitude. He needs to understand, are you going to be a very important resource for the company? So he frames these questions in such a way that you need to he sets a trap for you. Basically, he sets a trap for you to understand what kind of personality do you have. So what we are going to do today is we are going to go through a few questions, a few basic questions which these interviewers will ask you, and what is the trap behind these questions. How do they come to know what is lacking or what is not right? So let us go through these questions one by one. The first question that HR interviewer will ask you is, tell me about yourself. This is the most basic question. In 90% of interviews, this question will be asked to you. Tell me about yourself. Now, what is the trap here? Here, beware, 80% of all interviews begin with this innocent question. Many candidates, unprepared, skewer themselves, rambling, recapping their life story, and delving into ancient work history or personal matters. Now, for example, if someone asks you, tell me about yourself, what generally people tend to say is that I did my schooling from here, I did my college from here, these were my grades in school, these were my grades in college, I was a cultural person, I was a cultural secretary in college, blah, blah, blah. They go and recap their life story. They go and skewer themselves on this history. So this is a trap, basically. This is not what the interviewer wants to hear from you. You should see to it that what the interviewer wants. As I said in my previous slide, that you need to study. When you are going for an interview, you need to study what the interviewer wants, what the company wants, what they are looking into the candidate. So what you need to do is, when you are going to answer these questions, you need to start with the present. You need to tell them how qualified you are for this position. Everything that you say should link to the job description, should link to the company. You need to match what the company wants. You need to match, or you need to sell yourself to the company, and you should see what the buyer wants to buy from you. This is the most important strategy in an HR interview. When you are giving an HR interview, you need to sell yourself, and you need to tell the interviewer how important are you for the company, or how well you match the qualifications or the requirements of the company. Okay, so this is the most basic question, and remember, I will be touching on this point in every question of mine, that you need to sell yourself and you need to first study what the company wants from you. Okay, so this is the first question, the most basic question most of the interviewers will ask you. Then comes the second question. This is a softball question, they say. what are your greatest strengths? I have taken a lot of interviews in my career as HR. So when I ask this question to my candidates, the most basic answers that I get is, I am very confident, I am very patient, I am very hardworking. These are the basic answers that all the candidates are going to give. Most of the candidates will give the answers as some quality of theirs, the qualities that they have. That's going to be the most common answer. So how can you be different? How can you be out of the box? How can you think out of the box? So here the trap is, as I said, this is a softball question. You don't have to be egoistical or arrogant here, or it is not a time to be humble also, that you just can't be very humble. So the best answer, or the best answer you can give to this question is to uncover what the interviewer's greatest needs are and what are his wants, and then you have to have a list of your greatest strengths and corresponding examples that the interviewer wants from you, or your achievements. For example, I'll give you a small example of how you can answer these questions. When the interviewer, he gives you a job description, or the company, when they come for the campus placement, they give a small job description. And in that job description, the company mentions the requirements of the candidate. So in that, they mention that the candidate should have good language communication skills, or the candidate should be confident, or the candidate should be well versed with the local native language. This is what the requirement the company gives you in the job description. So what you need to do is read those requirements, and then try and fit your strengths according to those requirements. For example, if the requirement said by the company is that you need to be well versed with the local language. For example, when you're in Maharashtra, it is Marathi. So you can tell during the interview that one of my greatest strengths is that I can speak Marathi very fluently, and I am a local person, so I know the area coverage, I know the area very well. So if the interviewer wants you to know Marathi well, then you have fit into one of his qualifications or one of his requirements. So this is how you are going to match your strengths with the company's requirements. Remember, as I said in my previous slides, that all your questions or all your answers to the HR questions should go towards the wants of the company or towards the requirements of the company. That's how you are going to connect to the interviewer, or that's how you're going to connect to the company that you're giving the interview for. Okay, so we'll move to the next question. What are your greatest weaknesses? After strengths, the most obvious next question is going to be, what are your weaknesses? Beware, this is an eliminator question. Most of the candidates, I would say around 60 to 70% of the candidates are rejected on this question. Basically, this is a question to reduce the candidate list, because see, as I told you, that all of you will crack down the technical interviews, all of you will crack down the technical rounds, and when you come to the HR round, the HR person needs to shorten the list, because they may be having two requirements and the candidates would be around 10, 20 or 50 maybe. So at some point they need some question, or they need some point to reject the candidate. So if you accept or admit any weakness or fault, then this is a eliminator question. This is going to be an eliminator question for you. So here what we are going to do is there would be two types of answers for this question. One would be as you said what your strengths are going to be. You can use those strengths as one of your weaknesses. Example, as I've already written on the slide, that I sometimes push my people too hard. I like to work with a sense of urgency, and everyone is not always on the same wavelength. So here you have a strength, that is that you have a sense of urgency, but your weakness is that you push people very hard. So here the company or the interviewer might not be able to differentiate between the strength and the weakness, and it would be a passing question for you. What is the drawback of this strategy? A lot of people know that they don't have to tell a weakness, but they have to tell a strength as a weakness. So this strategy is better than admitting a flaw, but it is so widely used, it is transparent to any experienced interviewer. If there is an experienced interviewer sitting in front of you, he would come to know that you are being transparent, or you are being you're admitting you're not admitting a flaw, or you are using a disguise and strength as a weakness. So most of the experienced interviewers come to know that this is manipulated. So the best answer that you can give to this question is, nobody is perfect. We are human beings and we are bound to make mistakes. What you have told me about this position, I believe I'd make an outstanding match. Again, the job description, you link it here. You tell them that your job description mentions these points, and I feel that I am an outstanding match. So this is a type of question which will put you into a problem. So you need to have honesty, as well as you need to admit that you're not perfect and you can improve, and you can, have a better way of doing things than others. That is what you need to explain it to the interviewer. So you can tell them that I have a strong qualification, I have passed all my technical rounds, and I have a strong desire to achieve excellence. So he knows that you have a willingness to learn. He knows that you are ready to accept your mistakes, or ready to accept what is not there, and you are willing to learn. So this is a very, very, very critical question in this round of interview. So be very sure of what you are going to say. Be very sure of how you are going to answer this question. Okay. So we'll move on to the next question. A lot of companies want to know what is the vision of the candidate, or what are the aspirations of the candidate, or what is a long-term vision of the candidate. Is he a leader material? Is he going to be a manager material, or is he just going to be a coder, or just going to be into the coding field? So here the trap is, this is a killer question, because many candidates are not prepared for it. They don't know why the company wants to hire you. Why should he hire you? They don't know what to answer to this question. So if you stammer, then you have blown it, because the interviewer comes to know that you don't know the reason why the company should hire you. So the best answer here again is going to be is that you need to uncover the employer's needs. As I said before, what the employer wants from you, what does he require, what does he see into his future candidate, what are his needs, what are his desires. And once you get this answer, it's very easy for you to convince the interviewer that why he should hire you. For example, if I ask you, if someone asks me a question, why should I be hired to his company, I would give him an answer that, these are my qualifications, which you have mentioned in the job description. As I have already told you, these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses, and these very well blend with the requirements and with the needs of the company is looking for into the candidate. So you need to help the interviewer work this out. You need to give him a food for thought. Ki, oh right, this person has these strengths, and these are the strengths that we require into my candidate. So this makes the interviewer think on, why should I hire this person? So it's not just you who's going to answer this question, but it should be the interviewer who should think why I should hire him. So again, I say, we need to understand the requirements. We need to understand the needs of the company. So the next question, this is again an aspirational question. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Generally, a lot of companies want long-term candidates. They don't want a person coming in, for a year, training them, and the person leaving the organization after a year. So they will ask you, where do you see yourself? They want to understand that do you want to be in the technical field, or do you want to be at a managerial position? What is your future goal? So one reason interviewer asks this question is to see if you're settling for this position using it merely as a stopover. A lot of people, what they do is, if they don't have a job, they'll just take up the job, wait there for some time, and after they get a good opportunity, they're going to leave. So this question helps the interviewer understand the mentality of the candidate on whether he's going to stay for long or whether he's going to change the job. So they could be trying to gauge your level of ambition. What ambitions do you have for the future? So here, if you're too specific, that is naming the promotions you someday hope to win, you'll sound presumptuous. Okay. So the best answer here is going to be reassure your interviewer that you're looking to make a long-term commitment. In this question, you need to assure the interviewer that you're going to have a long-term commitment. It's not going to be that you're going to leave the company in a day's time or in a year's time. It's going to be that you're going to be a long-term candidate. You need to tell him that this position entails exactly what you're looking for. You need to convince the interviewer that this is what you're looking for. This is the position that you're looking for. And as far as your future is concerned, you will do each job that you get with excellence, and the future opportunities that come your way will take care of themselves. So here you tell him that what is the future you don't know. So you will go with the flow. You will go step by step. You will do what is in your hand today, and you will wait for the future opportunities to come your way. I've given a small example for this question. Here, what answer you can give is, I'm definitely interested in making a long-term commitment to my next position. Judging by what you have told me about this position, it's exactly what I'm looking for, and I'm very well qualified to do so. In terms of my future career path, I'm confident that if I do my work with excellence, many opportunities will be inevitable open up for me. It's always been that way in my career, and I'm confident that I'll have similar opportunities here. So this can be your ideal answer, that you don't tell the interviewer that you want to be a manager, or you don't tell the interviewer you want to be a vice president or whatever after 5 years. You need to tell them that right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay in the present, and I'm going to work hard, and whatever comes my way in the future, I'm going to take that as an opportunity. So be very optimistic, be very be very positive, and answer in such a way that the interviewer is convinced that you're going to have a long-term commitment to the company. Okay. So we'll move on to the next question. Why do you want to work for this company? This question tests whether you have done your homework. A lot of interviewers I have met, or a lot of students who I have interviewed for placements, for internships, when I take their interview, when I take the HR round for the interview, they don't know the name of the company. They can't pronounce the name of the company. And that shows me that they have not done any homework. They don't read about the company. They don't know what the company does. They don't know what branches does the company have, how many people does the company have, or what's the turnover of the company. So this question will tell the interviewer on what homework you have done. So the best answer for this question is going to be, this question is your opportunity to hit the ball out of the park, thanks to the in-depth research you should do before any interview. So before going to this interview, if you're going to do an in-depth research about the company, you're going to be able to answer this question flawlessly. You can tell how many company, what are the annual reports, what are the who are the suppliers, or what are the future prospects, who are the managing directors. So all this research you need to do before the interview. And if you can tell this information precisely in the interview, the interviewer is impressed because it's his company and he likes to talk good about it. So if you can give him all the information, he knows that you have studied, he knows that you're really interested to get into this company, and you are the ideal match. So this question is your opportunity to make an impression on the interviewer. Just remember this point, that this question is going to give you a good impression if you study well, if you do your homework well. Okay, so we move on to the next question. So this was a small presentation. Like I said, a lot of questions will be asked, a lot of traps are set. A lot of traps are set by these companies. Now, what we are going to do is that I'm going to tell you how you are going to, prepare yourself for these rounds. How you are going to prepare. How you are going to ready yourself. How you are going to. You need to have proper training, or you need to have proper practice to answer these questions. Just when I give you this presentation, you can't prepare and you can't just go tomorrow and sit for the interview. You need to first analyze, you need to first think, and then you need to prepare for these questions. So I'll tell you a step-by-step process on how you're going to prepare yourself. Okay, so we in this presentation we saw basic questions that the interviewer will ask you during the round of interview. So now, how will you prepare yourself? So what you need to do is, the first most important step is that you need to introspect. You need to think. You need to give time to yourself on what are my qualities, what am I as a person, what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses. This you need to think, because you can't be impromptu. You can't give the question answer in the interview itself. You need to know what are going to be your strengths, what are going to be your weaknesses, what are going to be your future opportunities, how you are as a person. This you need to think. If you don't think, if you go unprepared, you are going to stammer. You don't know what to answer to the interviewer. So what you need to do is start thinking from today. The second step, if after introspection, if you come to know that you are a little bit negative, or you are a little bit of a pessimistic person, then you need to work on those qualities. You need to be trying to be optimistic. You need to be you need to take small situations in everyday life and try to turn them optimistic, or try to be more positive on your approach towards things in everyday life. That's how you're going to prepare yourself. It's not going to come in a day. It's not going to be like today you have decided that you're going to be optimistic and tomorrow you're optimistic. No, it's not going to happen. You need to give yourself time. You need to give yourself that opportunity to turn yourself optimistic. You need to be aware. For example, when you are with friends, generally, I'll just give you a small example on how you can have a situation wherein you can be optimistic. You're sitting with a group of friends, and someone shares an idea, and you immediately react. Nahi, ye nahi hoga. This is not possible. Don't react. Think. What is the idea? Is it executable? Can I do it? Can we do it? And then put in your answer. Be optimistic. Don't be pessimistic. Don't negate. Okay. So these are a few steps that you need to follow. The first thing is introspect. The second thing is work on your qualities. If you're not optimistic, or you're not positive, work on them. Third, before going to the interview, you need to study the job description well. You need to study the company profile well. You need to study the interviewer who's going to come to take the interview well. And then you need to attend the interview. I have seen a lot of people coming unprepared. Like most of the times what is going to happen is you will come to know just one day before that tomorrow this company is coming for interview. Then everyone is running haywire. Okay, I need to apply. I need to see if I'm fitting into the criteria. Everyone is running. Take your time. Think, is this what I want? Is this the profile that I want? Then if this is the profile, then how I need to prepare for this profile. As I said, these are going to be some basic questions that are going to be 100% asked to you in the HR round. So you need to prepare for the answers to these questions beforehand. But the interviewer should not know that you have prepared for it. Be very natural, be very normal. And when will you be natural? When you practice. You can't study one day before and give an exam, right? You need to study throughout. That's when you can answer the questions properly in your exam. So you need to prepare yourself for these interviews. You need to be very careful on what answers you give. You need to be very careful on what kind of examples do you give. As I said, that all your strengths, all your weaknesses should be associated with an example of your life, because that makes the interviewer relate. For example, if you say, I am very confident, okay, how will the interviewer relate to you are confident? So you need to have an example that is associated with this quality of yours, so that the interviewer can relate. Oh, right, he is the person, he looks like a person who is confident. Second example is decision making. If you say that I'm a good decision maker, so you need to have an example that you can relate to, in which you have been a good decision maker, and this makes the interviewer relate that you are a good decision maker. So everything should be relatable. Nothing should be in the air. Everything that you answer should relate to the requirements of the company and relate to the saying that I am this, I am that, I've done this, I've done that. No, you need to relate to the company's requirements and answer these questions. Okay. For this kind of interview, because most of the good students or most of the intellectual students are rejected. I have a lot of examples. I have a lot of people or friends I know answer these questions well. So what you guys can do is read about this more. We have Google. We have a lot of information that's available on Google, and you need to read more. You need to see on how you can answer these questions well. I have a list of more than 150 questions. So if you guys want to, you want me to share that list of questions with the required answers. So if you want me to share that list of questions with you, you can get in touch with the college, and I can share it with you guys. As I said that we need to be very well prepared for the interviews, for the HR rounds in interviews, as today it's a millennium of cutthroat competition. There are going to be more than 10,000 engineers passing out every day from all over India. So you need to be out of the box. You need to think out of the box and answer these questions out of the box. That's when you stand a chance to get selected over the other candidates. Okay. So now I would request Professor Vikas Kolekar to take this ahead. And if anyone has any questions or anyone wants to know anything, we can have a small question answer session. So Professor Vikas, please take over.
Yes. Thank you, Siddesh. Few questions we have received under the QA. And first question: if a candidate is manipulative and he says, he says so in the interview, it is likely for the company to hire him. If a repeating question: if a candidate is manipulative and he says so in the interview, is it likely for the company to hire him?
See, what do you mean by manipulative? Basically, as I said, you need to be honest. Even though you try and twist the answers, it's fine, but whatever you say should be honest. Manipulative should not be a lie. You can manipulate the answer, you can manipulate the question, but remember that it should not be a lie. That's what I would suggest during the interview.
Okay, sir. So next question, how to tackle questions if asked about previous internships, like why you didn't join a previous organization or how was your previous organization?
Okay. So during if you want to answer such kind of questions, the first thing that you need to know is uh, because you do not join a previous organization, there can be two reasons. One reason can be that the organization did not have a opening, and the second reason would be that the profile that the organization was offering was not what you required. So you can tell the interviewer one of these reasons, whatever the reason may be. Everyone might have different reasons. Some companies may be offering a different location, some companies may be offering a lower package. Whatever reasons that you have for not joining that organization, be very honest and tell it to the interviewer. That's not a problem.
Okay, sir. Thanks a lot. So next question. Many HR ask about planning for higher education. Nowadays,
Right.
almost all engineering students aspire to go for higher education immediately or after gaining some work experience. What should be ideal answer for fresher engineering students?
See, there are two aspects of higher education. I will very pinpointly highlight these aspects. One is that after doing engineering, a lot of people think that they are not good with technical and they want to get into higher education to change the field. Like they might prefer doing MBA, or they might prefer doing some other kind of higher education. And the second aspect is that they want to have a better job prospect, uh, and they think that if they take higher education they might get a better job. So these are two aspects that generally the candidate thinks about when they think about higher education. So what I would suggest is when the HR person or the HR interviewer asks you this question, that what plans of higher education, you need to tell them that you are going to take a technical experience for 2 to 3 years, and then to enhance your skills or to enhance your technical abilities, you are going to take higher education. So this should be the probable answer that you should give to the interviewer.
Okay, sir. I want to add one point over here. Some of the organizations like MNCs, they have policies of higher education. When you join their organization, they sponsor you for higher education. So
I
it
can't hear you.
depends upon. Yes, some of the organizations like MNCs, they have policy to sponsor for higher educations.
Okay.
So for that option, students may go. I was adding I was contributing to your
Yes, yes,
answer.
of course. A lot of MNCs sponsor if you are a good candidate, and if they know that you're going to stay for long term, then they will sponsor your higher education also. So yes, you can
Yes,
think about it.
yes, sir.
Yes, yes. Any more questions?
Yes, sir. How much weightage is given to the internship experience of candidates while hiring? So today, in the upcoming days, we are going to give internships to our students, and they are mandatory for our students, VIIT students. So this is the basic obvious questions from student sides. So how much weightage is given to the internship experience of candidates while hiring? So for the final year of engineering in the VIIT, we are providing internship opportunities. So students' question is like this: how much weightage is given for internship experience while hiring?
Okay. A very important question, Professor Vikas. Uh, when we take interviews, when the HR takes interviews, a lot of weightage is given to what kind of work or what kind of internship you have done. They will see to it that what kind of experience have you gained from the internship, and they will try and understand on how much effort you have taken to complete that internship. I have seen a general attitude with students that internship kaisa hai, to karna hai, because it is a part of the curriculum, you have to do it. But I have also seen a lot of people, because I have been hiring a lot of candidates for internships also. I have seen a lot of people really working hard, which has helped them during the interviews. So it's very important to do the internship very rigorously and very methodically. And when you are into the interview, if the interviewer asks you about this, you need to be prepared to explain it to him in detail, that what kind of hard work you have done to do this internship.
Okay, sir. Perfect. So next question. How to analyze what the recruiters are looking for in a candidate, as in the job description, only the technical requirements are mentioned. So this is almost a case. MNCs are mentioning the technical skills, but how to analyze what the recruiters are looking for in a candidate?
Okay. Professor, this question also gives me a different aspect of looking at it. This is the job of the college or the placement committee to talk with the company and take detailed requirements from them. What the candidate should do is they should speak with the placement committee and ask them to ask the company to give them a proper requirement of the job. So it would be helpful for the candidates. So I think if the college can speak to the company and get a detailed job description, that would really help. Because that's what we have been doing when we are partnering with colleges. We have been telling them and we have been sending them very detailed job requirements, so that the candidate knows what kind of job he is going to be offered.
Okay. Okay. Thanks a lot, sir. Sir, another question, very interesting and most widely and most often asked in the interviews. Where do you see yourself in next 5 years? Should we give the answer honestly, like if you are going for MS, or we should give the answer that is benefiting of company?
Yeah. So as I already said in my interview, that you need to be in the present. You need to tell the company that you are matching the qualifications, you are matching the requirements for the current job position, and you are open for future opportunities. You don't need to mention that you are going to go for MS or you are going to go for higher studies, because after 5 years you don't know what is going to happen. So you need to tell the interviewer that you are open for future opportunities, and right now your main focus is that the main focus would be to work hard in the present.
Okay, sir. Sir, another question. Sir, is it possible to ask HR how your interview went?
I don't think so. It's a good idea, because the HR will never tell you. Because if you ask me, if a candidate asks me how did my interview go, I would not give an answer, because I don't want any hopes to be given to the candidate, because I need to have my time to introspect or think on if he is the right candidate or no. So generally the HR would not answer such kind of questions.
Okay, sir. Yes, perfect. So another question, how to answer the question, why this company?
Okay. Why this company? I have already explained it, Professor, but I'll again, if someone has put up the question, as I said that first you need to study on the requirements or the requirements or the needs of the company. So when the interviewer asks you, why are you choosing this company? You need to tell them that I am fit for this company. These are my qualifications. These are my strengths. These are my weaknesses, and these are my aspirations. So this is a right fit for this company, and that's why I have chosen this company. Simple, very simple answer. Be very
Okay,
honest.
sir.
Yeah.
Okay, second last question, sir. If two students reached to the final interview, one with good internship experience and other with technical skills, what would be the choice of HR if he has to select only one candidate?
So as I said, I will have a list of 10 questions, these eliminator questions, and based on the weightage given to these questions, I will judge the candidate. if I know that both are technically good, I will judge that person on his behavioral attributes. That is what they call them. So I will judge the person on his behavioral attributes and his attitude and his personal qualities rather than seeing the technical qualities.
Yes, sir. So last question. So it is already answered by you about the co-curricular activities. But once again, I want to highlight, like as you know that VIIT is organizing Perception, Gandharva, sports competition, etc., etc. So question in that way, does the experience of co-curricular activities matter during placements?
Hello.
Yes, sir. May I repeat the question
Yeah.
once again?
Yeah, please. I did not hear your question. Please.
Yes, yes. So, like as students are doing various activities, co-curricular activities, they are participating in the sports, writing research papers, etc., etc. So, question in this regard: does this co-curricular activities matter, or it helps during the placement?
Yes. Very good question, Professor, because I had not touched on this point. So, what you should do is you should mention all the co-curricular activities in your CV, because an HR interviewer reads your CV very well. He knows everything about you before you come for the interview. So you don't need to boast about it. If he sees it in your CV and if he asks you specifically about some activity, then you need to go and tell him that you have done such kind of a extracurricular activity. So be very sure of mentioning it in your CV, 100%.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Siddesh, sir. I think all questions are covered by you. So I give you a vote of thanks. Mr. Siddesh Gatevara, thanks a lot for joining us and accepting our invitations. And Mr. Siddesh today has spoke on topic preparing for HR interview, HR round in an interview. I want to summarize some of the points he has covered. He highlighted on core topics like the FAQ HR questions. So and very important point, maintain a interview diary. So that will help you to gather all the questions and after going home to study all the questions and preparing for the next round. And one of the very important point speaker has mentioned and correctly mentioned, sell yourself. How you are doing your self marketing. Sell according to company requirement. This is the bold italic underline tag. Sell according to company requirements. And step by step preparation for the interviews. So these are the some basic and very important points this sir has mentioned. Once again, thanks a lot for your valuable time and sharing your experience. Thanks a lot. I
Professor
want to
Vikas, thank you so much for summarizing so well. And I would wish best of luck to all the students, to all the candidates who are looking out for a job in this difficult time. And I would also like to tell them that they can follow me on LinkedIn, or they can talk to me on LinkedIn. If they have any questions, it would be a pleasure to answer these questions on LinkedIn. So they can come and visit me on LinkedIn.
yes, thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable times.
Okay,
I want to
thank you
thank
so much.
I want to thank Professor Subhas Tathale sir as well, our TPO Vishwajit Kate sir, and I2SC coordinator Dr. AP Kulkarni, and the management for the giving opportunity. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.